mic settings back up on Streamlabs because of that.
Oh, it's a disaster. Like, no joke. Yesterday was like the second Windows update I've had in a week, I think. And yeah, it ruined everything. Speaking of ruining everything, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Out of Our League. My name is Gage. I'll be your host today. Joining me today, let's see. Over to my right, we have Philip J. Woodward. Down below him, we have Kumail H.
Surprise!
And joining us, a very special guest who I originally had placed somewhere else on the layout, but is now down below on the left. We have Asa GreenRiver joining us today.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yay!
Thanks for having me. Super pumped to be here.
He froze for a second on my end. I got worried.
Freeze?
Just for a second.
We got audio.
It's the first time anyone's been like, I'm happy to be here.
That's fair. That's fair.
Asa, I just want to say, you're pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that was so good. Oh my gosh. You need to be narrating
I'm
books.
taking to borderline.
Can you do some audio with me, please?
I'm working on it. We're trying.
Yeah.
This is the year. This is the year.
Yeah.
We're trying. What we're trying to do is get hashtag fill in a video game.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Dude, listen, if you figure it out, you tell me what to do, because I've been trying that for years. I don't know what to do.
Right.
It would be trending.
It's a lot of auditions.
Everyone would be like using one L, or some people will be using two L's, so there's two different hashtags.
Right.
Make it a bit more difficult to trend.
Yeah.
That's actually a really good joke, Kumail.
I have my moments. That's my 100th joke of the week, so it had to hit.
One of them has to hit.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like just to make you mad, somebody would make it look like they typed it with two L's, but it's actually just an L and a capital I. That way they're still tricking the system, but it looks like they did it right.
Yeah.
That's some Josh bullshit right there.
But anyway, thank you for coming on the show. This is quite amazing. We're actually really excited to have you on and hear more about Borderline Entertainment and some of the other stuff that you have going on.
Yeah, I am a complete open book, so I'm super pumped to just talk about whatever. It was like I was telling Josh, like, whenever people have me on the show and they want to talk about me, it's super awkward, because unless you're like really egocentric, nobody likes to really just go on and on about themselves, and you feel like at some point you just sound like a dick, and you're like, okay, just get over yourself. But I will do my best to.
So what you're saying is you're not Ben, please be excited.
Ooh.
Listen, I'm not.
Dang.
Ben isn't here, so you know the rule.
Yeah, we can talk about it. He's not here.
I'm a little bummed that he's not here. I think it's personal.
It's a little personal.
Maybe a
It
little
is
bit.
personal. Thanks a lot, Ben. You don't want to hang out with me? I get it.
So, Simply Sassy, we sort of see what Kind of Funny do and just basically steal it, right? And we saw one Asa on Kind of Funny and thought, let's steal him too. So what was it like being on Kind of Funny?
It was first of all, it was really fun. Really surprising. I wasn't expecting to be on. But I don't know how to answer. From like a logistical standpoint, it felt very familiar. Not that my podcasts and stuff that I do is like creme de la creme, like the best thing ever. But I try to like pride myself on being very professional and trying to like set things up a certain way. And just to experience that on the back end, just to see, how Kind of Funny does their things in the back end and see that there's a lot of similarities. It kind of like felt like being at home. Like I felt like I was doing game chat, doing my show, like just the way that, getting the notes set up and getting the audio set up and the recording and everything like that. But just from a personal like fan perspective, because we're all Kind of Funny best friends here, and I've been a fan for a long time, since the inception, and so that point was very surreal. But by the time the green light hit, or I guess it's red if you're recording, all of those feelings kind of left, because it was just business at that point.
You were in the zone at that point.
I was just in the zone. I think I was like a little bit nervous before, when Kev and I were just kind of like hanging out, getting audio and stuff figured out. But most of the nerves and like sheer excitement of, holy crap, I'm going to be on kind of funny content was like the week leading up, but then like day of, and when it was go time, it's just like, all right, it's another show. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
Was it a case of like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen? You were like, it's go time. Let's just go.
Yeah, it was that, and I don't know, like if you're like very critical about something and you've got a slight little bit of egotistical edge, if anybody gives you a platform to talk about your opinion on something, it's just, you can't see anything else. It is pure tunnel vision. So I was just having a good time, upsetting fanboys of all kinds.
No, critics, you did well, and you know, one would have thought you've been doing this for years, which actually leads me on to my next question, which was like, in terms of things like podcasting, when did you start, and you know, what's been your journey to get to Borderline Entertainment?
Also, to add on to that, like for those of you, or for those people who don't know who you are, like who are
That's
you?
a good question.
Yeah. Man, who am I? You know, I don't know if people, I feel like when people ask that, like when I ask people that on my show, I feel like people should know who they are, but I don't feel like people absolutely need to know who I am. Like if they don't know who I am and they're being introduced today, then it's like, where have you been? But I mean, if you want to know who I am, so my name's Asa GreenRiver from Columbus, Ohio, content creator, marketing person in the games industry. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's about it. But if we want to peel back the layers of the onion, you let me know, because I can get very tangential real quick.
What about the little 7 that you have up next to the end of your name there?
So we were talking before we started recording. My wife had the K-pop concert. We are a K-pop family. We love it. This like shelf right here is my wife's K-pop memorabilia, albums, posters, things from her concerts and things. So that 7 is from the group BTS, and so it's something that their fandom was doing when they released their album 7. They just put that at the end of their name, and now it's something else. But 7's also my favorite number, so I just kind of kept it. It's just like a good fit. And it took me so long to figure out how to do it. I'm not taking it down.
Can you tell me why Girls' Generation and Twice are the best K-pop groups?
Wait, what?
Wait, is it like a what, you didn't hear me, or like what is this man talking about right now?
I'm gonna say what I didn't hear. I need a playback.
Oh right, no, I was gonna say like, tell me why Girls' Generation and like Twice are the best K-pop groups.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
I'm about to get roasted.
They're not.
Fair.
Twice is cool. I like a few of their songs. Generation, no, I'm not about it. I'm a BTS, Stray Kids, and ATEEZ person myself. A little bit of Astro here and there, but yeah, those are my 3 main pillars.
I find like K-pop groups just come in and out of like the consciousness so quickly. Like they'll rise to prominence and then like suddenly just disappear off the map. Would you agree with that assessment, or would you say that?
As a fan, no, but I think, man, now being in the K-pop world, it is such a loaded answer, because it depends on like how deep you are within the fandoms. Because there's another group that my wife likes. They're called Shiny, and they've been around for a very long time. Like typically K-pop groups, like they're anywhere between like 19 and 24. I feel like that's the general age, but like these guys are like my age. So like Phil, they're old dudes, but they're out there busting it, looking so good. And so like for me, I would think, oh, nobody knows who they are, but like just seeing them in concert, just watching like YouTube videos from little shows that they've done recently, that stuff's packed out. So like they still have like, you know, major fans, and then in Korea they're really big. I think when it comes to like American audiences specifically, or just like Western in general, it really depends on where the lightning bolt strikes. Like,
Sure.
Like when it comes to BTS, I feel like it felt like it was the Beatles coming to America type of situation, like the British invasion, because COVID wasn't a thing. So like they were able to tour, they were able to show up on Fallon and James Corden and all these other late night shows, and so they had a very strong overseas presence. But now with them being so isolated and really not doing any traveling and concerts being pretty much all virtual at this point, I think that's probably why it feels like it dies down at times. But
I guess
also,
international crowds is probably the big thing I'm talking about. Being very casual when it comes to K-pop and stuff like that. That's my general observation. But you're probably right. Like maybe like in domestic markets, probably they've always been as popular as they normally are. But internationally, it's a bit difficult.
Absolutely. And we were, in fact, my wife and I were just talking about this last night. As I've been getting more into ATs and Stray Kids, they're a little bit smaller groups versus like BTS, which is just like this global phenomenon. I was telling her the other night, I'm like, man, it feels like BTS just kind of disappeared. And she is like a mega K-pop fan, so she knows way more than I do. Like, so she makes me look casual, and I felt like I was kind of knowledgeable. But she's like, no, they're still doing stuff all the time. They've got a new album that's coming out, a Japanese album, and they did this and this and this. I'm like, I had no idea. But it's just because I've been so entrenched in the fandoms of Stray Kids and ATs that I've just been out of the loop. So yeah, I think it's just like where your attentions are.
I love how K-pop groups. Sorry, Phil.
No, you're fine. I actually have a related question to this whole thing, so go for it.
Yeah, I'll have to go grab my dinner in a second. But I was just like, it fascinates me that K-pop groups bring out Japanese albums as well. Like twice have released a few Japanese albums as well. It's insane to me. And like being in Japan and going to Tower Records to see how big K-pop is, it's insane. Absolutely insane.
They record Japanese albums. Some of them record things in Chinese. I've seen before. Like and like some of them recorded English. Like they just they know that they have fans all over the world, and they just try to make something special for everyone.
Didn't Twice sing that Jackson 5 song? It's insane. It's really good.
It's really good. Dude, BTS just did Fix You by Coldplay, and they crushed
I'll have to listen to that.
Oh my gosh. Put me in tears.
So my question is, when I was a kid, J-pop used to be the thing. Like that used to be, we like Gact, Miyabi, like all these different artists, and it was like this thing. If you were into anime, if you were into video games, like you were probably into J-pop. But like, I feel like now J-pop is just completely overshadowed, and you kind of touched on it. With the idea that K-pop is more international. They cater to the outside audiences, where I feel like J-pop is kind of its own thing. Like they still stick to a mostly Japanese audience for their material. So I think we kind of answered our own question there, but I still wanted to throw it out there. Like, why do you think J-pop like just never took off like K-pop has, even though we have so much Japanese influence in our lives, in our everyday lives now?
I think it's absolutely, what you just said, that the companies that run K-pop essentially, like they are very focused on just the music industry at large, including international audiences. But J-pop, and I'm really big into J-rock. Like a lot of those groups, like you just don't find their music unless you purposely go look for them, or you heard them in an anime opening or ending, or in a video game. And it just doesn't go beyond that, because I think they know their audience. They're fine with their audience, and if it gets big like baby metal, then it gets big like baby metal, and then they go with it. But I think they're perfectly content with where they're at, versus, not that I think K-pop's like trying to take over the world. I'm not one of those toxic people. I don't think that's the case. But I mean, they're musicians, and they want everybody to experience their music. So I think it's just a little bit different focus there. Absolutely.
All right, let's get back on track a little bit. I can see Gage is half checked out up there. So Kumail asked a really great question, and then I interrupted him with like who you are. Because I thought maybe we should start with that to kind of get it out of the way. But you were on Kind of Funny because of it being, Native Heritage Month. Mm-hmm. So how did they get in contact with you? How did they approach you about that?
Yeah, I just checked the BLE email one day. I think Greg probably just pulled it from my Twitter and said, "Hey Asa, I have looked at your stuff. You got good stuff out there. I saw this tweet and dropped a link to the video that I put out, like, hey, I just want more native voices to be out there, to be uplifted and celebrated. And he's like, I would love to have you on next week. How does that look? And it was like, cool. That day is actually super free. Let's make it happen. So,
Yeah.
and that was it.
It's always amazing to me because like you said, I've pretty much been a fan since the inception of Kind of Funny. And yet you and I have never crossed paths as far as like on the internet. Like that episode was what introduced me to you. And I was so super psyched because I'm always excited to have, native representation on anything and everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of assumptions about what native culture is and what it's about. And I think we're finally getting a lot more exposure to things that are, concerns, that we wish were out there a little bit more. It's, like I said, it's getting better, but it could definitely still be a lot better. So it's always nice to see somebody out there doing work.
It's going to get better this year. I'm just going to throw it out there. That's all I can say, but it's going to get better this year. I'm working on some things with some awesome people. And it's just it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. We actually have a collaboration surprise, hopefully coming up in the near future, that I talked to you about. So we can't talk about it yet, but hopefully soon we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more, which I'm super excited.
Just out of the loop, like, hey guys, help.
we were just talking about native representation and how Kind of Funny approached Asa about being on the show.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. What? Sorry, previously or like again? Come again?
No. Just when he was originally on the show back in November. Sure. But okay, so from there, tell us a little bit about Borderline Entertainment, what you do on the internet, your different podcasts, like pimp yourself out a little bit.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you what, Borderline Entertainment has been a journey. So without like retreading too much, because I would direct people to the Up and Comer podcast done by the wonderful Josh Biddick, to get like a lot more deep dive information on it. But essentially, I started back in like 2016 with this big dream and this big concept I don't want to say without a lot of direction, but just lofty ideas. Had three guys with me, and I think just what ended up happening, we started off with Game Chat. That was like the flagship show. And the plan was that we were just going to do that for a while and slowly start to build everything up. And needless to say, I mean, I feel like so many people can, they vibe with this, that to no fault of their own, but sometimes people just have more drive than other people for the end game. And so, they wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to help out, but they just kind of dropped off. And so that caused me to like, okay, I can't keep all of this production up and everything by myself. So let's kind of like rewrite the ship a little bit here. So I knew that Twitch streaming is where I wanted to explore. So I just kind of like dove in with that. And so like programming and shows and that kind of stuff just kind of went on ice for a while. And I would say probably like 2019, I was like looking at pulling like BLE content back up, pulling shows back into the fray. Started with Wednesday Wrap Up, which was like it was like a weekly entertainment show where it just kind of like ranked the big happenings within entertainment news. And it was a ton of fun. And I will say, like, that's a show that's coming back. The format is going to be a little bit different, but the production was just so heavy. And having a full-time job and being a husband and then finding out I had a kid on the way and everything, life just kind of slowed things down. So again, it was like another recalibration of streaming has been the constant through everything. So game streaming has always been there. But really it was the end of 2019 going into 2020. I had been doing a lot of networking, working with a lot of other games people to plan out the big year that was going to be 2020. And then, I mean, dude, I was so bummed because there were so many big things that I had planned, so many people that I was working with, projects that we were going to be doing. And it was all like planned around like having my kid, because my kid was born in February of 2020, and it was all still planned around the schedule of having a new child, and it felt very doable. And boom, the pandemic hit, and
COVID.
literally everything went out the door. So like, uh, yeah, traveling, meetups, and just all of these other projects just had to permanently go on ice until we could figure out some sort of solution.
Could I interrupt you there and
Yeah,
just ask
yeah.
a very personal question? Do you feel that that might have been for the best, considering that you're a new father now and you're getting to spend more time with your kids? Because I know a lot of people during lockdown who are like new parents actually think it's been a great benefit to them not having to go into work every day and missing out on the growth of their child. So do you feel in some aspects that that might have been a benefit to you, and actually in hindsight you would have probably preferred it to be like this, or would you like to have a balance of hanging out with the kid but at the same time making these big moves to further progress what you're trying to get to?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. I was and still am bummed about the things that weren't able to happen, but far and above the time that I've gotten to spend with my family and my son and actually be there with him and watch him grow up, um, outweighs that completely. It's only when I like stop and really think about what could have been that it ever makes me feel bummed out. Like there's never any residuals. So yeah, and I wouldn't have changed it. I wouldn't have changed it whatsoever because it's just been amazing.
It's definitely interesting because for us, like, this never would have happened. Like, Simply Sassy never would have happened without COVID.
Yeah.
Without lockdown. So it's such a weird thing to think about, that without this extreme global tragedy, that we never really would have done what we did. And it's interesting to think about too, like all the great guests that Kind of Funny had on this past year. Would they have gotten those guests for shows if it wasn't remote? Because it's hard to fly people out. It's a lot of money to put up board, put up flight money, put up food, whatever, and get people on a show in a studio. So it's interesting to think about all the different cool guests and shows that they've been able to do because of working remotely now. So it's really interesting to think about.
Hey, so was it always the plan for you to go to San Francisco and do sort of the podcast with Kind of Funny in person, or was it always going to be a remote thing, or was that not just a thing before COVID hit, the whole Kind of Funny thing?
I just don't think it was a thing before COVID hit. Like Philip, you had talked about how we started with Kind of Funny at the same time from the beginning, but you just had never heard of me until that moment. And I have always been a fan. I've always been in the community, but I've been a very, very silent participant. Being a part of like Reddit or any sort of like groups or anything, I have really bad anxiety, and have my bouts with like depression and stress overload and things like that. So just the idea of being a part of the online culture, the Kind of Funny best friends, it felt like Mufasa going into the wildebeest, man. I'm gonna get trampled. It's too overwhelming. And that's still something that I battle with now. Like I'll be so heavy online and connecting with everybody, and then I just kind of like disappear off Twitter or whatever for like a couple weeks because it's a lot. And so I think like I don't know. Even though I wanted to be an up and comer, like the time that they announced it, and it was Blessing and it was Chloe who were going over, but I'm like, dude, nobody knows who I am. Nobody knows what I'm doing. Why would anybody vote for me? And it wasn't like this like woe is me thing or anything like that. But I don't know. I don't think I ever would have gone over if it wasn't for this instance, because this, like you said, like it opened the door to have so many new guests. It opened the door for literally so many things to happen that I think it was purely just because of the circumstances last year that I was able to be on.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was kind of our thing, was KFAF. That was a lot of our doors into the community, because I agree with you. Like I was always just kind of a silent participant. I would, I really wasn't even that super active on Twitter. I would just watch the shows and post here and there. And then when they started KFAF, it opened up this door to be like, oh, well, this is cool. This is something that I can contribute to.
Yeah.
and do something for it. And then I made it onto the show, and you know, with one of the photoshops, and was like, oh crap, this is so much fun, and it's being recognized.
People is fun, is it, Phil?
What's that?
Traumatizing people is fun, is it?
Oh, well, that's Ben. Don't clump me in with that. I don't always try and traumatize people. And then you know, I met Matt Ferguson, and then I met Ben. Please be excited, and then I met Kumail, and it just kind of went from there to kind of individually messaging all these really cool people, and really getting in with the community. But that was my first step, and without KFAF, I don't think I ever would have stopped being a silent partner. And then, as I was saying earlier, I don't know if all of us would have come together like we did, because we originally started coming together for gaming, because we all had all this spare time.
Good old Warzone.
Yeah. And so we were like, hey, let's come together and play some video games together since we have some time. And then, you know, The Last Chance bred out of that.
Yeah.
And then we proceeded not to make any new fake documentaries for a year.
Yep.
But we started other content, which has been absolutely fantastic, and we're doing some really cool stuff here pretty soon. Anyway, yeah, it's so weird to think about how the pandemic has been kind of an interesting, definitely one of the most interesting incidents in the world for a long time.
I'll tell you what it's done. It's spotlighted so many great individuals in our community who, you know, I would have never met before, or, you know,
100%.
would have never come on a show or anything like that. And like, you're starting to see so many people with these different talents. For example, like the Up and Comer podcast with Josh Bittick, you know, you had so many people go on that, and I met so many cool people because of that. You know, hearing about Ben's episode about how he does his like photoshops on the treadmill
on his phone. Yeah. Speaking of, is that how you met Josh, or did you meet Josh prior to your episode of the Up and Comer podcast?
And
Yeah,
is he
that's how-
insufferable to you? Because I think he's one of the best people I've met. But is he secretly insufferable, or is he actually just
No, absolutely not. So that is how I met Josh. And Josh has since, I hope it's okay to say, like, Josh has since like joined Borderline Entertainment. To,
Yeah,
like,
he talked about that on our show when he was on the Out of Our League podcast.
Yeah, I listened to it. I texted him, I'm like, you son of a gun. You didn't have to say all that. But I always feel bad. Like, I don't want to like rope people in too tight with like BLE. I just want it to be a place where people can create their content, and I can just help give them some sort of like platform, whatever that is. But yeah, it's he's not insufferable. He's literally one of the best humans I've ever met through a screen.
That's great.
So-
Blink twice if he's telling you to say that. No, we love Josh here. We love Josh here.
Gage, blink twice if you love life. Blink once if you hate life.
What are we doing? You said you don't want to like sort of shove it in people's faces, BLE, but in terms of like the end goal for it, or where you want to go next year. Sorry, Phil.
No,
So-
that's exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Where do you want it to go, basically?
Yeah.
Where do you see it going?
So there's a lot of stuff that I had planned for this year, and a lot of it is still going to happen. So like BLE now at this point is one part content creation, and the other part we help do like branding and PR and like marketing for indie devs and gaming adjacent companies.
That is amazing. I didn't know that. I thought it was just like every other podcast where it's just like you listen to it online, but you actually do other stuff as well. Like,
Yeah, so that stuff is not like out in the forefront right now.
Yeah.
Just for like NDA and like legal reasons and things like that.
Mhm.
For some of the people that work there and like, yeah, there are other jobs that they have. But yeah, so we've helped out like just a few other like smaller devs like in Ohio, and then like work with brands like TakeThis.org. I don't know if y'all know who Take This is. They're a mental health organization within the video game industry. They are fantastic people, and the fact that we get to partner and work with them is just like, it's a dream. They're amazing over there. But yeah, so on the I say the business side, it's all business, but on like the businessy side of BLE, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. And that's like eaten into a lot of my content creation time because I've just been like so busy with the meetings and that kind of stuff. But then on the content side of things, like I had put out like this roadmap for 2021. And when I put out that roadmap, there were plans for me to just be able to free up some time to do stuff more full time for the year. And we just hit a roadblock, and that date now is just one of those things that, well, it's just gonna kind of have to be on ice right now, and it sucks. And I don't know if it's anything I've ever like. I think I might have said it once on stream. So I guess to answer, like, there are plans for 2021. There definitely are. Like, there's more content coming, both within BLE and in collaborations with like me and other places. But it's definitely not as much as I originally was hoping for. So,
Are you trying to get a balance between, you know, the sort of business side, let's say, and then let's say for what's the word? I can't even think of the word. For easiness, the podcast side, are you trying to get a balance between the two going forward, or are you going to try focus more on one side than the other side for the growth of, you know, Borderline?
right. So the hope and the plan is for there to be a balance. Like, I don't think we'll ever get to a place where like we're taking on like so many clients and devs and things like that to where it's just like a full on demand all the time, because I also don't want to affect the relationships like we build with them. Like I want to be able to like insert ourselves into like a company's culture and just help them out as best we can. And I don't want to overload that. But then at the same time, like working to build out the content side of things, the podcast stuff. And so that was like actually one of the big reasons of like just bringing other people on, of making BLE kind of an open source platform. So like one thing that I think I announced it, I don't know, but so like the website is open for pretty much anybody to write articles. So like if you're looking to write about games or movies or anime or whatever, and you want to write news or reviews, please use us if you don't have a platform, because I have just relinquished. I can't do it anymore. So I just don't have the time. But I want the community to have content, and I also again want to lift those voices. So, and that also goes for like podcasts. So like there are some people who are working on things within BLE that there's going to be other BLE shows that they're not mine, and the only agency that I have within those podcasts and those shows is the fact that I just help push them out. Like they have full creative control. It's their show. It's just in the BLE banner, and I just help them pump it out. But yeah, the plan is for there to eventually like be that balance where it's just both kind of going parallel full time.
What I really love and respect, and you know, thank you for as well, is just you're using such a, you know, relatively big platform to elevate other people up as well, which is, you know, something that I know Simply Sassy Vids is trying to do now, you know, a bit more subtly, but trying to go forward, like bring more people on, raise their voices, give them a platform to speak. Just to hear that you're like looking for people to come on, contribute, and like do whatever they need to do, within, you know, parameters, then no, respect.
Well, and it's like I understand, like we're at a point where there's so many content creators where we're all just learning and borrowing and stealing from each other and just like having that awesome ecosystem. But there's like a point, like for me, it's just because maybe it's just because my time is so limited, but I still want to be out there and to be in the trenches, that I'm like, I'm not gonna try and reinvent the wheel. If there's somebody who like, so like there's like a superhero themed show that's going to be coming from BLE. It's called To the Rescue. And it's like, man, I would love to do that, but I don't want to steal someone else's thunder. I wouldn't be able to put the love and care and attention that someone else would. Let me help you. I'm not going to try and compete with you. That would be silly because you're way better than I would ever be. You know, so I also don't want to just continue to overflood the market share of shows and podcasts out there.
Gage, do you want to ask the question that Ben always asks on every show to every guest?
Sure.
Yeah, we need to make sure we get this one out there.
Oh, it will kill us.
Okay, so this is a question that Ben asks everybody we have on the show.
I think I know what it is.
So, Greg Miller, somebody you now know, personally. having done a show with him. How do you think he's able to do everything that he's able to do? Do you think maybe there's a clone of Greg? Do you think he's a robot? Do you think he's what I forgot who said it, a demon? Like how in the world does Greg Miller do as much as he does?
I'm going to tell you something right now. I listened to the Andy Cortez episode. Phenomenal, by the way. Love Andy. Awesome dude. You guys crushed it. And for the random person who said that I can't remember if they said it was like the Walmart version of Andy or whatever. After watching that episode, I was like, that person, I don't know who it was, but they were right. Because Andy's growing up and like his experiences so scarily similar to mine in a lot of ways. Anyways, thought that was really cool. But the issue with that episode was that Andy didn't tell you the truth. Okay. As you said, professed other person who knows Greg Miller. Some would say not nearly as well as others, but that's beside the point. Here's the thing. Here's the real skinny of what it was like working with Kind of Funny behind the scenes. Does anybody watch Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
So there are two things I want to reference in Dragon Ball Z. So the first one is on the planet Namek. Goku was in that like bubble machine where he was healing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Frieza's healing chamber.
Yeah, the healing chamber. Take that mixed with the time chamber, the one that's up in Poco and Dende's area.
The hyperbolic time machine.
Yeah, the
the
hyperbolic time chamber.
If you were to merge those two together, that's pretty similar to the technology that Greg has access to. You think it's a coincidence that there's a new Kind of Funny headquarters? It's so much bigger. Where do you think they have to put the thing? That's what it is. That's why Kevin's always like, don't touch it, don't go to space, wait for me. It's because the thing is so big and large and takes up so much power and electricity. It's because Greg sleeps in it.
So does Kevin maintain it?
Do you think
once a week he's got to be in that thing?
Do you think Greg also knows instant transmission?
You know, I think probably how it works is if you've played Marvel's Avengers as much as he has, you know that you've got these buffs and you do these things. You smash with Cap's shield, and now you've got a buff on your person. That's what it's like. He gets in the chamber, he sleeps in it for a night, and he's got buffs on himself, so he's able to move super fast. He's able to regenerate health, and what seemingly would be like he's splitting off into different people. No, it's almost like he's hitting the freaking Speed Force, like he's Flash ripping through there. But yeah, I mean, pretty much that's how it is. I was astonished, honestly, because he was just in it the night before I was on Kind of Funny Games Daily. He's still wicking off that ooze that was stuck in his ear.
That's probably one of the best theories we've ever had on the show.
It's wild technology, man.
Absolutely.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't know about you. I've got another question.
Yeah, go for it.
If you don't mind. Xbox ambassador. What does that mean? How did we get there?
Yeah. So how did I get introduced to that?
It's been so many years.
I know it has, and I feel bad because I've been a terrible ambassador. Absolutely terrible.
I know about it, so not that bad.
So I got introduced to the ambassador program at a conference called GDEX, which is an indie games conference here in Columbus, Ohio. There was, now I'm blanking on his name. I'm such a terrible person. Sorry, guy. But he told me about the program, said I should check it out. For whatever reason, gosh, that was like, I think that was like 2016, 2017. And I feel like I'm really showing my age that I can't remember any of those specifics. But anyways, he told me about it. I went and looked it up, applied for it. It was not easy to obtain. But basically, like, the ambassadors are people that are trying to promote the positive communities within the Xbox ecospace. So, like, there are different community managers for Xbox, and each community manager has a team full of ambassadors. And so basically, it's just like telling us about events that are going on, things that we can just help champion. They'll have like regular gaming events where the ambassadors are like there just to make sure that everyone is there and is just having a good time, you know? And so they're really just to be a positive force within that community. So if I have had a positive, happy impact on the Xbox community, then I have done my job. But I don't think that I really have, because I have participated in like maybe 2 or 3 of the ambassador events, and that's about it. So in about like 3 years, 3 events, that's not good. They should take me off.
Next year is your year, you know.
Yeah, that's my year. Probably not. That's my year for it to expire. They're gonna be like, we're taking back our badge, everything. You got to go.
Hey, we've got you back. We'll protest. Don't worry about it.
So going back to you a little bit, what inspires you to do what you do? Like, do you have
so much? First and foremost, it's literally been my dream to work in the games industry. As a kid, it was like, I want to do this. I don't know what this is, but I want to do it. And like from there, I knew I wanted to work at a gaming company, and then learning about like news outlets and IGN and Mega 64 and ScrewTac, and seeing like the content side of things. And so it's always just been an evolution, but I just knew that video games is where I've always wanted to be. So like that passion there and of itself is definitely a big driver, but I'd probably say the biggest driver is easily my family. I will choose them over everything, and if that hurts my consistency with content, then so be it. But if it wasn't for them, then I wouldn't be making anything. Like, I can't even tell you it. My wife is the one that should have been on Kind of Funny, should have been on IGN, like should have been on GVG or any of the other future engagements, or should be the face of Borderline content, because she literally pushed me to start doing stuff, to continue to do stuff, reminders. Like, I should pay her, because she does so much work. Any money that comes in for BLE legally should be hers. And then now, obviously, like my son Link, I want him to be able to grow up and to see his dad working in an industry that feels passionate, so he knows, okay, I can work where my passions are. And then also to be like, my dad has a dope job, I want to be just like him. But then like to see from like a representative or representation aspect of, there's for lack of a better term, like the video game industry is so whitewashed, or any sort of representation is like very, very limited, or just isn't done well. So from a person of color perspective, I want him to just have another face to look up to. But then especially from a Native and Indigenous perspective, like I want him to be able to look and to see, hey, we belong in this industry too, and we are a staple within it. So yeah, all of that.
I don't know why, but randomly, I thought of your kid being in the school playground and saying, well, my dad is the Xbox ambassador, and he told me Halo Infinite is coming out this year. You know, my uncle works at Nintendo thing.
Oh my god, that's great.
I don't know why. God. I don't know why he said that.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I want that to be the case so bad.
Oh man.
That's awesome. Okay, so a little bit more fun. I see your little chess pin back there.
Yeah.
So I gotta know, top 5 Pokemon starters.
Son of a gun. I hate this.
Hey, so look, I'll give you number 1 for free. Okay, number 1, Totodile. That's where we're starting.
I'm just gonna put it out there. Totodile's not even on my top 20 list. If there's even 20 starters, I can't even like.
Sorry, it looks like you're breaking up.
Wait, no, that can't be true. Because I don't like the black and white starters. I actually don't like the black and white generation. Even like Diamond and Pearl, I'm kind of iffy on that. But
can I ask you about the black and white generation whilst you think about your starters? Just like, because I came from a place exactly like you, where I was like, when I got to black and white, I was just like, it's fine.
Mhm.
And then like revisiting it, you know, maybe with a new lens, you know, going through that story, I'm like, oh, I missed a trick here. I really did miss a trick, and I ended up becoming a big fan of it. So like, sort of, what's your sort of like reasons for not actually liking it that much as much as the other ones?
I think it was probably an age thing, honestly, because being an old ancient dude that I am, like,
Hey now.
you know what? So like I remember like Pokemon coming out and the new like the wave of it coming to America and churches being like, "Hey, this thing's coming and it's of the devil." Like
Yeah.
so I was there in the inception of Pokemon in the States. And so I was really hard into it with Red and Blue, Gold and Silver. Ruby and Sapphire was when I was starting to die off a little bit. Emerald was the game that I had, loved it. And then from there, it just becomes a blur because I didn't feel the need to go out and buy the next generation. I waited a while to get a DS. And so I think it was just like timing and delay. And I was honestly at the age where it's like, am I gonna go back and play it? Like, probably not. And I remember what was the Ranger game?
Pokemon Ranger.
Yeah, but Pokemon Ranger. Yeah. So like when I finally got a DS, I got Pokemon Ranger instead of like the mainline games. Love that.
That thing broke my screen, dude. I swear to God. I'm like, I'll touch one part of the screen, it just touches another part of the screen. It's oh god, Pokemon Ranger.
And then when Black and White came out, I don't know. I think what set it off for me was because I like some of the Pokemon from that generation, but I saw the trash Pokemon. Is it Garbodor? No.
Yeah, you're right.
I am right. Okay. In like Trubbish or whatever, like I saw the trash Pokemon, and I'm like, this is where we're at. Is making Pokemon out of heaping piles of garbage. I'm like,
So you saw Muck and you're like, oh, this is perfectly fine, guys.
that's the thing. When Muck came out, I was like, I don't know, 8, 7, something like that. So I'm like, this is so cool. Toxic waste. But yeah, seeing a trash Pokemon, I was just like, this isn't cool. But it was X and Y that brought me back into it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I picked Chespin. Fell in love. Yeah, fell in love with Chespin and wow, what's the middle one?
Oh, Chespin.
Oh,
Quillard?
for the evolution.
Yeah, now I'm blanking.
Quilladin.
There we go.
Quilladin. Yeah, I went through Quilladin so fast. But like I play Pokemon Go every day, so like now that generation is in Pokemon Go, I now have a Chespin as my buddy, and I will never evolve him. I've got one that I evolved all the way through, but I will keep one Chespin. I don't know. It was just for me, Chespin is like more than just like within like my top 5. It was like I don't know. It's he resembles me getting back into Pokemon real hard.
Oh, that's cool.
I love that story.
Yeah, dude, it was, and I love Froakie and I love Fennekin, and they're cool, but dude, they don't have anything on Chespin. And then like, Chespin's my guy, and I've always been like pretty heavy like grass leaning. I think it's probably just because green, even though I say blue's my favorite color, I really love green characters and everything. So like Rowlet, I obviously went for Rowlet in Sun and Moon.
Someone
Plus,
said he was only like the 5th best fictional owl, which I'm really pissed off about. He's number 1.
Decidueye, are you kidding me with that giant bow? I can't even handle Decidueye. And now Grookey, so good. So if to get back to the starters question, how many did we say? 5?
5.
10?
Yeah. Just 5.
5. Okay. Well,
I didn't want to make it too hard.
Okay, so Bulbasaur, Chespin, Rowlet, Grookey. Shoot, I need to add some variety in there.
Don't put Totodile, like he's
No, I will never. Are you kidding me?
No.
See, I initially wanted to immediately go Chikorita, but I can't have all grass. I can't. I'll do Cyndaquil. All
right.
Cyndaquil's cute.
Nice. I just figured we needed a fun question to, give everyone the look of Gage wanting to hang himself.
Dude, Gage, I gotta say it right now. This whole time, I'm like, I feel for my guy right now. He is struggle bussing.
We put him through so much you won't even believe it.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to stare at Chespin and have Kumail on the show and not ask at least one Pokemon question.
I've got. Let me see if I can reach without pulling out my
Yeah, Gage doesn't know, but this is actually the Pokerebel podcast.
Yeah.
little ball right here. Keep it right here.
Nice.
I got
Oh,
Mew
is
in there.
that Pokemon Go Plus Plus or whatever the hell
No,
they're
that's
calling that shit now?
Okay, well, watch your mouth. This is the Pokeball Plus. I use it for Go. I use it for Let's Go, and you can actually use it for Sword and Shield.
What? I
Wait,
did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
It's kind of janky, but it works. And there's like a game-breaking thing where you can take Mew. Basically, you have to buy a brand new Pokeball Plus and connect it immediately to Sun and Moon, or sorry, to Sword and Shield, and you can take Mew into the game. I can't remember. It's like it doesn't fully recognize that it's Mew. But yeah, so I got Mew.
Weird.
Damn, son.
Huh.
Interesting. If only I cared.
Yeah. Bulbasaur's best boy for me. Bulbasaur's best boy.
Oh, Bulbasaur is.
Oh, Gage loves games, bad games like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example.
Yep. Fallout 76.
Yep.
It's one of his
Hey.
faves.
Fallout 76 is a good game now.
Oh no.
I don't know. To be fair, I
Thank
played
you.
it for about 60 hours when it first came out. I really need to go.
Dude, you should have jumped back in after Wastelanders.
I need to go. I need to go back. I really do.
Kind of sucks now. It's been kind of dead for a while, but their new roadmap for this year, so much good content, but I'm still disappointed that they made no mention of a next gen update. It's like, really? Like, I finally got a PlayStation 5. I'm not going back to play this game at 30 frames per second. It's a Bethesda game, and Bethesda games are like some of the worst 30 FPS games because there's no motion blur at all. So it's just raw 30 FPS, and it's so difficult to play.
To be fair, I did turn it on just to see how it ran on my new PC, and I did run it at a solid 60, and it's pretty nice. It's nice when it's buttery smooth, for sure.
Definitely.
Hey Asa, do you want to tell Gage that he can play Fallout 76 and all its like glorious 60 frames per second over on the Series X?
Actually, technically, it doesn't matter because Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 with FPS boost caps your resolution at 1080p on those, so you can get 60 FPS, but you can't run them in 4K on the Series X.
Xbox ambassador, have you anything to say for yourself?
I don't, because I was playing it on PlayStation mostly, and then I got it for free on PC, and I've been playing it on PC ever since. So
Nice. I'm like 700 hours in on my character on my PlayStation, so it's like
I haven't played it that much.
I can't leave. I can't. There's no cross save support, so it's like I'm stuck on PlayStation. I'm not restarting that game. I can't do it.
Although I don't feel like we've been able to dig in nearly enough on especially the fun conversation that's starting to transpire right now. We do not have a lot more time with you, so I wanted to at least, what do you want to throw out there right now, as far as like anything that you're doing upcoming here pretty soon that people should go check out?
Ah, man. Shoot. I literally was coming to this with like a completely open book of literally whatever you guys want to talk about. Stuff that I've got coming up. Keep your eye on Game Chat. I like to think of it as the MCU of podcasts. I was just thinking that yesterday. The guests for this year are just phenomenal. They always are. Last year's guests were incredible as well. But there have just been so many people that have wanted to be a part of it that I was doing like an every other week type format in 2020, but there's so many people that are, not that I feel like I'm bragging, but I don't mean to be, but like there's just so many people that wanted to be a part of it that if I continued to do the every other week, then we would be into like 2023 to make sure that I could get everybody in. So for the most part, I'm going to be doing it every week unless there's like a holiday or some sort of like personal family thing. And then for the week of the BLE anniversary, which is like the last week of August, it'll be every day just for that week. But yeah, so keep an eye on Game Chat, whether you listen to it or watch it live on Twitch, which there's an episode tomorrow with Nathan Norman Brandt and Cam Koenig. So they'll be on tomorrow. And then episodes will be coming to YouTube later and podcast services later as soon as I can like get my schedule together.
And congratulations to you, by the way. I mean, the fact that you can have so many people wanting to come on your show, that's massive, dude. And just congratulations on, you know, getting the thing to that point.
Yeah, thank you. I think the big shift was taking it off of, because like when Game Chat started, it was like it was trying to be a mixture of like hard news mixed with like Good Mythical Morning from like Rhett and Link. So one of
Yes.
comedy and no, get it out there, baby. Love it. So wanted some of that like character dynamic and some fun into it. And I knew like coming back into it, and I'll kind of like pull the curtain back a little bit. Like when bringing Game Chat back, I knew that I wanted to do something different. So I went with the variety format because I just used to watch variety shows with my parents, my grandparents, all the time. So went with that kind of format. So there's a whole bunch of different segments within it. And then the cheapskate that I am, doing those different segments gives me the ability to have extra content to then share out there. So like there's a section that's called My Favorite. And so that's really just like a trip down memory road of talking about like what is your favorite whatever. And so like the show is also very driven by the community. So there is a Google Doc. I'll try to share it on social media again today. But people can just go in and throw in their suggestions, and that stuff is just like how the show goes. But anyway, so we'll take this trip down memory lane. Well, those segments will then be broken out into like just their own videos if people want to watch those instead of listening to an entire hour-and-a-half podcast. And then we're going to be doing more premium versions of those once a month where the production value's up. It's not just ripped from the podcast. But so it essentially, like when I was creating Game Chat, I'm like, how do I take all of these ideas that I've wanted to do and funnel them into one idea so I don't have to continue to stretch myself so thin? So yeah, if anything, just keep an eye out on that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that is okay to talk about right now that isn't under some sort of like have to wait to talk about it. But yeah, just stay connected. Talk to me on the internet. I feel like I'm a nice guy. I love to
Hey,
hang
so
out.
where can we find you on Twitch? Sorry, because you mentioned you were like on Twitch. I've not seen you on Twitch, so I'd like to give you a follow if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's twitch.tv/borderline entertainment.
Coolios.
And then on top of that, where can people find you?
Yeah, people can find me at GreenRiver07 on Twitter, preferably just Twitter. On Instagram, a little bit more personal. So unless like you guys are good. Like we can connect on Instagram, that's fine. But if it's like just people that I haven't met yet and I've gotten to like talk and get to know, Twitter's like the best place to go.
Awesome. Before Gage closes us out, I wanted to delve into your son's name a little bit. Is that indeed Zelda inspired, or was there another reason that you named him Link? I saw you toss that out there, and I wanted to address it. But
yeah, it absolutely is Zelda inspired. The Legend of Zelda was the very first game I've ever owned. It is what got me into gaming. Still my favorite series. Wind Waker's the best, no argument. But and that was my wife's doing. Again, she's like the best thing a part of my life. Because she's like, you know what? Let's make let's make his name Link because you love it. And I'm like,
oh, that's so
what?
cool.
Thank you. Tears.
That's awesome.
I wish my closet wasn't stuck right now because I'd go grab my gold cart of Legend of Zelda.
Mine's locked in the vault of glass that is my parents' house. I have no idea where that sucker is.
That's awesome.
So
all right, Gage.
Phone here. I got the same one, baby.
Oh, yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Man,
Dang it, mine's out in the front room. Oh well.
I haven't played that game in a long time.
Yeah, same. I got the plat and I bounced. I was like, I'm out.
Never got
too
the
many
platinum
games
Borderlands
to
2, dude. Oh god, or Destiny 2.
It's actually
Alright.
easier than Destiny 1, which
Well,
is surprising.
It used to be when they changed it, because it used to be you could do a Nightfall strike and it would count for the raid trophies, but now you have to do the Grandmaster Nightfall strike to get the trophies, which is like you have to max out your power level for the season before you can do it. So you have 3 months to hit like 1350 or whatever the ridiculous power level is now, and if we don't get it that season, it resets next. It's I gave up on that game a long time ago. I miss it though. It's a good
He's a
franchise.
broken man.
That seems like a perfect moment to close us out. Broken man.
Broken man. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Out of Our League. Stick around. We've got a couple of good episodes coming up in the next few weeks. Don't know how much I can say about them other than next week, and we're gonna have Cameron Kennedy's episode. We're actually recording that today, but we're gonna stack that one for next weekend too. So yeah, check that out as well. Otherwise, we will see you next time.
Awesome. Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.